Next, we have our Pledge of Allegiance, and we're so very lucky to have a fifth grade student with us, Martin Arias Julian, and we have in English and Valeria Mendoza, who's a fourth grader and who will recite the pledge in Spanish, and Principal Brownlow is here to introduce his students. Principal Brownlow.
Well, good afternoon, Yakima School Board, Superintendent Green, YSD colleagues, and guests. It is certainly a privilege and an honor to share two of our Garfield grades with you today. And we invited them to be a part of the Pledge of Allegiance, and both of them were very eager to do this. They have really serious looks on their faces, but if you were to visit Garfield and spend just 3 minutes with these students, they would have you in stitches because they are both very fun, bright, curious individuals, and they just make Garfield Elementary an even better school. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to them. Valeria, as mentioned before, she'll do our Pledge of Allegiance in the Spanish, and then Martine will take care of it in English, and then we have the Garfield Pledge for you as well today, in addition to our character traits. So Valeria, I think that it's okay for you to go ahead and start for us.
Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la República que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Great job, Valeria. Okay, Martine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nicely done. All right, and now let's go ahead and do the Garfield Pledge together. Ready, begin. I
am a Garfield grade. I treat others with respect. I am responsible.
I reflect
on my choices, and I am safe.
Fantastic. And if at this time we could also have you read the word of the month definition in English and Spanish, that would be fantastic. Valeria, would you please go first?
The quality or state of being considerate or thoughtful, disposition to, or an act or instance of kindness, courtesy, or clemency.
Clemency. Great job, Valeria. All right. Thank you very much. Martine, would you be able to do the Spanish definition for us? Can you read that from your screen?
No.
Okay. Valeria, would you like to read that for us?
La cualidad de ser considerado o reflejo disposición a realizar un acto de bondad, cortesía o clemencia.
Well done. All right. Thank you both. Valeria, Martine, you did a fabulous job. Thanks for representing our school and our community so well. We're very proud of you. And I think that the school board and our guests may have a couple questions for you.
Yes, Martine and Valeria, very good job on the Pledge of Allegiance, your Garfield School Pledge, and on reading the character words of the month. The character words have a lot of big words, so Valeria, you did a really good job sounding out those big words. I will ask any board members if they have any questions for you two, so just hang on the call for just a second, and we might have a couple questions for you. Director Walker, we'll let you go first.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank both of you for helping today, and that was very brave of you, Valeria, to read all those without having a chance to practice them. You did very well. When you read at home, Valeria, do you like to read books in English or Spanish or both?
I personally like to read books in English.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you keep your Spanish too. It's good for your brain to know more than one language, so keep it up. And I have a question for Martine. Where are you going to middle school next year?
I really don't know, honestly. I still haven't. But doesn't
Okay.
it depend on where you live?
I think it depends partly on where you live.
Well
So,
then, well then, most likely Franklin.
yeah, I think you're probably, if you live close to Garfield, you're probably in the Franklin area. Well, about 100 years ago, I went to Franklin. It's a pretty good school. So I hope it's still as good as it was when I went there. I think you'll have a good time.
All right, thank you.
Director Beckett, any questions from you?
Hey guys, I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Word of the Month, Character of the Month, and everything else that you guys do at school. I want you to know that we as a board are really proud of you, and we want you to have a really great rest of the year, and that we hope you enjoy your schooling.
Thank you.
Yes, we are very proud of you. And again, so excited that you're able to be here with us. A quick question for both of you. Valeria, you said you like reading books in English. What is one of your favorite books?
I like to read manga.
Manga? Okay. Very cool. My son used to read that. Good stuff.
It's a type of Japanese book.
Mm-hmm. Martin, what kind of books do you like to read?
The graphic novels. Well, one of the best. Well, and personally, well, if we're talking about my favorite book, then I would honestly say Polly, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series.
That is a good series of books. There's good stuff in there. Well, thank you again both for being here. Keep up your reading, and we hope to see you at graduation one day. Thanks so much for being here. We have other items to talk about in this meeting, so if you want to stay, you can, but you can also sign off now also. That would be okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you for letting us stay. And yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, next we have the Yakima Land Acknowledgement, and I have the honor of reading that today. Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation. The people of Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties. Today, we honor those Native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture. We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today. We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial. An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect and a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. It also honors the truth. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation. Next on our agenda is a moment of silence. Yakima Schools lost a member of their family, Carol Finney. Carol Ann Finney was born September 9, 1941 in Hendra, Minnesota, and later moved to Edmonds, Washington in 1949. She received her Bachelor's of Arts in Education from Pacific Lutheran University and a Master's in Education from Central Washington University. Carol taught and coached at Eisenhower High School from 1963 to 1996 and 2002 to 2003. She was a lifetime cadet. During that time, Carol was a department chair for 30 years. In 1971, she started the girls' basketball and track and field teams at Eisenhower and remained the coach of both teams for 10 years. In 1975, the Eisenhower girls' track and field team finished second at the state championships. Carol also coached softball from 1983 to 2004, qualifying for the state tournament twice. In 1985, she was selected Big Nine Coach of the Year when the team won the league title. Carol was recently inducted into the 2018 Eisenhower High School inaugural Alumni Hall of Fame class. The Eisenhower softball team was named the Eisenhower softball field was named the Carol Finney Field during a ceremony held between games at a doubleheader on May 11, 2018. Carol Finney has received many recognitions and awards from organizations around the state for her distinguished service to youth sports. Even with her passing, she will be helping young people financially and supporting girls' sports programs in the Valley. Carol was preceded in death by her parents, Harold and Ethel Finney, and brother Denny. She is survived by her brother John, sister-in-law Judy Finney, Jennifer Manson, Chris Finney, Joe and David Finney, and a number of cousins and great-nieces and nephews. Memorials may be made to the favorite charity of the donor, the Parker Youth and Sports Foundation, or Eisenhower High School Fast Pitch. The memorial service will be scheduled later this spring, likely on the Eisenhower campus. Please join me in a moment of silence honoring Carol Finney. Next item on the agenda are items of board interest. The first item here that I'd like to review with the board is after we received a couple of suggestions regarding the organization of our board meetings. I'm happy to report that we've made some changes that we hope will make our board meetings a little more efficient. We have moved all of the board's policy work to be reflected as the last agenda item. This will allow approvals of any agreements and other approvals the board needs to do to occur before the board discusses their policy governance work. We also will be summarizing the board policy reviews rather than reading the board policy in its entirety. And so along with that change, we'll be assigning board policies for review to board members. And so board members, please look for your assignments as we go through our annual policy governance calendar in our meetings to ensure you know which policy you're assigned. And so you'll have an opportunity to review and summarize that at our next meeting. Another item of board interest that I'd like to share, I had the pleasure of attending a science festival or science fair at Washington Middle School last week. It was a lot of fun. Mrs. Miller, one of the science teachers Catherine Miller, one of the science teachers at Washington, invited me to attend, and it was very fun to be in person at a school. It was one of the first times I've been in person at a school since the pandemic. One of the times I've been in person at a school. It was really neat to see all of the students engaged. There was I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 different tables that had different math and science activities. There was a snake at one of the tables, and the kids were just screeching a little bit and just enjoying the snake and all of the activities. So it was really neat to see everyone back in person and seeing everyone involved. I went earlier in the day. There was a handful of parents, but I know they expected a lot of parents, and the food services staff did an excellent job. They made pozole for the activity, and I know that the families and students there were very excited. So overall, it was a really neat activity, and I was glad to have been able to go. Any other reports from members of the board?
Not at this time, but I also wanted to say I also attended the fair, but we didn't cross paths. I must have gone at a different time that you did, and just to ditto everything you said about it. It was a nice experience for kids and parents.
Superintendent Green, you raised your hand.
Yes, and this time I do have something. So thank you, Director Villanueva. I just wanted to actually call attention to our people that are watching us online. I know one of them this evening is Director Rice. I did speak with her a couple of times today, and she wanted me to inform you that she would be here. And of course, she wants to be here in person. So we want to certainly recognize that she is out there. I also would just surface for the directors that are here today that if we were in hybrid in the future, she would be able to attend. And I know that is something set for conversation later on, but I did want to just surface that one more time and let you know that that is a desire of Director Rice, is to get back as soon as possible and participate within the hybrid model.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. I've heard from most board members who indicated support for continuing in a hybrid model to allow Director Rice to participate. Any other items of board interest?
If I may, I would just say that I've been able to have conversations with a number of people who have emailed or called lately regarding both school safety in the wake of the situation at Eisenhower, and with also the Discovery Lab scenario. And I know that our administration is working thoughtfully and conscientiously through all of those items. And I'm looking forward to the conversations that we have down the road about both of those items. And last but not least, I would have to say, Carol Finney was one of the very few teachers at Eisenhower who ever called me out for skipping a class. And she did so with grace and charm and with the fear of God at the same time. So I appreciate the fact that we were able to pay tribute to her tonight.
Thank you, Director Beckett. Next item is a superintendent's update. Superintendent Green.
Thank you, Vice President Villanueva. The superintendent update today will start out with just a commentary on Discovery Lab, and I appreciate Director Beckett citing that he has received emails or communication from community members. I'm sure that others may have as well. The last Thursday, I did attend an event meeting at Discovery Lab with several members from my cabinet to let them know that we were reconfiguring the grade levels at the site. There was also then a follow-up meeting with early learning, the early learning staff, to let them know that we would have a place for our littlest learners to attend. And I think it's important to call out goal number 1 of our 2026 commitment, which is that at least 19 of 20 or 95% of our kindergarten students demonstrate readiness across all 6 indicators of WA-KIDS. That is the measurement. We know that when students do not enter school ready with those 6 categories, it is harder for them to achieve at the 3rd grade level. And 3rd grade is an indicator for success all the way through graduation. We also recognize that our early learning staff has had some significant challenges. Over 75 employees at multiple sites, no online or no on-site administrative support for most sites, or 1 principal for all of the sites, which makes it extremely difficult to be everywhere at once, and that's impossible. We have limited speech language pathologists, nurse, school psychologists, and other support staff that are splitting time between sites, which is very inefficient. We have teachers that cannot team, collaborate, or community build as a staff because they are at multiple sites. And there is limited or no space for teaming, wide school testing, staff meetings, compounded by no gymnasium space for early learning, and a driver shortage that compounds attendance issues. So busing to multiple sites becomes an issue. And when we have to cancel routes, oftentimes we do impact those youngest learners. So the early learning, the need for an early learning center in conjunction with fulfillment of our commitment to our community in the strategic plan as called out in that goal number 1, 19 of 20 being prepared. Currently, we're at 4 of 20. Only 4 of 20 students enter kinder at the level of readiness for success. And that combined with the needs also of community and staff is something that moved us to reconfigure Discovery Lab. It is an emotional issue. That message, an elongated message, laying this out even more fully, was shared certainly with staff and was shared with a community in an announcement that went forward both in English and in Spanish going forward. It's an emotional issue, and we understand that people are going to feel very passionate about keeping Discovery Lab as is. It is a difficult situation because it does affect people. However, we know that our goals must be completed, especially to address the lack of achievement that we've seen of students entering our system. And I just really wanted to call out that we understand how difficult this is for teachers and for community that is impacted at Discovery Lab. And yet we celebrate with them what Discovery Lab has been over the last quarter of a century, the success that they have really achieved during that time. And we celebrate as well early learning having a location in which they can grow and be a place where we're better serving in a way that reaches out to our entire community and treats them as a school is what they are and what they need to be moving forward. So I would expect that you will continue to receive notifications. I'm receiving many notifications, many letters from parents, community members, students, and it's wonderful to feel the passion that they have for their school. And I just want to really acknowledge that and tell people that we understand how difficult that this move is. The second thing that I would like to address today is the update on safety. We had a situation last week where there was gunfire and a student was killed. It was a student who was not a student at Eisenhower where this took place. However, the student was actually one of our students as well at Yakima Online. And you know, anytime a life is lost, we just celebrated a wonderful coach and teacher, the influence that that person had on everybody's life with whom she came in contact. And now we have a student who was at the beginning of his life and it was taken away. And we understand that it's a time for really decoupling the actions of some with what I guess the supposition of who this individual was and why he was involved or how he was involved. Be that as it may, the Yakima School District welcomes, includes, teaches, celebrates, sometimes disciplines, and sometimes mourns, always with love, respect, and dignity, all students. And that's no matter what. We don't make an exception for who you are or what you're involved in. We really do mourn with the family that lost a child, and also with a family that has a child now in jail facing something that should never have taken place. Again, the shooter, the perpetrators were not Eisenhower students. I think it's important to say that and share that. This action could have taken place. It was at 3 o'clock after school, half an hour after release. Could have been in a parking lot at a supermarket, could have been at a movie theater, could have been downtown. It happened that it took place on the corner outside of Zeffel Stadium was where it has occurred, and we deeply regret that any action that results in loss of life. But we're so thankful for our relationship with the community, with the police force, with the safety protocols that were in place. We saw so many actions that really went above and beyond to make sure that people were safe. I myself had a son who was out at track practice when this took place. So if anybody's out there watching, I felt things just the way any parent would, but I also had the added benefit of knowing that we would have people respond appropriately, and they certainly did. I think at this time, knowing that I think Stacy's with us. Stacy, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to add anything about the police response and the actions that took place during last week?
Yes, I can speak to that. There were over 30 police officers responding immediately to the situation. And if you don't know, when the police show up, they take over incident command and they guide the process in conjunction with school district leaders at that point in time. If you're aware, we had 3 schools in lockdown. We put a 4th school in lockdown a little bit later when we identified that the perpetrators maybe had family over in that area. The coordination with YPD, school personnel, and the students that were still on campus was exceptional. As you know, we practice these kind of drills all the time, but the reality of carrying one out was remarkable, the response. It also gives us an opportunity to learn some things, and we conducted a debrief that night with YPD, Eisenhower and district leaders. We conducted another debrief the next morning with staffs and administrators and police, and we conducted another debrief that afternoon with school personnel from the three different schools and YPD and district staff. So we've gathered a lot of information along the way. Everything was very smooth. There are some things we discovered, obviously, that you can always do a little bit better, but we never at any one time felt that anyone was in harm's way, which is exceptional work on the part of everyone. District follow-up in conjunction with the ESD the following day for crisis counselors throughout the district, as well as the work of Omar Santoy and Casey Mitchell in Student Services Department was exceptional. Our work with Kirsten Fitter in Communications Department, as well as Sarah Cordova and Nate Henyon in their work in Safety and Security, and then with our collaboration and work with YPD. I have to tell you that over the last 3 years, we've worked very closely with the police department in getting to know how they operate and them getting to know how we operate. And that connection with knowing each other really paid great dividends on Tuesday night in the conversations we were having, in our ability to direct staff, students, talk to parents, and design a plan that was carried out with great efficiency. Shout out to transportation, who took the students from Wilson, from Nob Hill, and from Eisenhower to Whitney for parent pickup. And again, that information going out on Parent Square. Was communication perfect? No, but then that's something we get to learn along the way. But all in all, I think between students having the phones and capabilities they do nowadays, and the work out at Kirsten's department, the work from YPD and communication, that we're pretty much all on the same page in our operations around student safety. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I may.
Any questions from members of the board? Thank you for that update, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate you calling out the so many people that were involved, and I know that we're probably missing several people, but it was truly amazing. I was able to debrief with the police chief earlier this week. We had a scheduled meeting already on the docket, which was very convenient, and we were able to visit and talk about the event and what we can do to improve upon where we were at. I will say that for those watching, that issues like these, really it's see something, say something, and it's not just with students. I was made aware that there was an adult that was aware that the student that was the shooter had a gun and did not say something. So that's very disheartening to know that out in our community that was a reality that took place. That can be looked up on the police report. But it's really see something, say something, and not just at the airport or in a school. It's anywhere in our community, because you never know where this is going to play out. And we're just thankful that it played out after school, that it wasn't in the thick of things, and that we had so many people revert to their training, our police officers, our internal people, and it worked out really well, considering the damage that was done, not taking anything away from an individual who lost his life or others that were affected. Stacy?
I'd just additionally like to say there were 3 individuals from Willow Springs that I talked to that did come across the street. They saw the shooting take place and rendered first aid. One had been a nurse at Memorial for 15 years and was quick on the scene to render first aid and care, as well as our nurse, Sherry over at Eisenhower. And I have those 3 names. I'd like to recognize them, but right now they're sitting in my car and I can't remember. So hopefully I have an opportunity later to recognize those 3 people that did take off across the street to render first aid care on the scene.
Thank you, Stacy. Yes, we will loop back at another meeting and make sure we recognize those individuals along with others as well. Does the board member have a question regarding Discovery Lab? I did not open that up for questions. Is there a question that I can answer going back to the beginning of my update?
Questions from members of the school board?
No, not at this time.
All right. The other items that I have for the update today is a WASA awards ceremony. So every year, this has actually been virtual the last couple of years because of the circumstances. There is typically a Washington Association of School Administrators recognition with the board that takes place regionally. The last one in person took place at YB Tech. I believe it was probably around this time in 2019. We've been online since. The question that I have for the board is whether or not you would attend in person or would rather attend virtually. There is a May 3rd is the date that is being proposed, May 3rd at YB Tech at 6 p.m. May 3rd, YB Tech, 6 p.m. Barb, what day is May 3rd? Is that a Tuesday? Yes. So the question would be, for that event, would you rather attend I guess there are 3 options that we don't attend, which is always an option. But if you do attend, if you could make it in person or if you would rather attend virtually.
I'll be out of town that day. I could possibly attend virtually. I just don't know quite yet what the schedule looks like with the time difference.
Totally understandable. Okay.
I can attend in person.
Graciela?
I'll be out of town that day as well, so I won't be available to attend in person or virtually.
Okay. So did you say virtually you could?
No, I wouldn't be able to attend either way.
Okay. So that leaves Director Walker. I guess, Director Walker, would you like to attend? I mean, if we hold it virtually, we would probably be able to get Director Rice there as well. I know that Director Navarro isn't here. Do you have a preference?
I can do either. So,
okay. I will then convey that we are going to go ahead and make the virtual option for those who can attend. And that again, May 3rd, 6 p.m., then it would be virtual. Thank you. And then the last item that I have is a question about equity training. So we have a new requirement out for school board members to go through equity training, which is sponsored through WASDA, the School Board of Directors Association. We have Erin Jones, who is working with us. I believe she has met with all of you individually for at least a half an hour. She is actually coming into town, and we could host some work on the equity component, which would fulfill that requirement by WASDA. I have approached WASDA and to see if we could actually do ours in a differentiated manner by having our board members participate together versus going through with a large group of other board members, so that we could address concerns that we have actually within our five board members and have a little bit more intimate setting. Barb, what is the date of Erin Jones coming?
Monday, March 28th, and she'll be at the board meeting, and she's staying the night on Tuesday to meet with some of the board members on Tuesday morning.
So we are proposing a work study session, correct, Barb? So it would be a work study session at the beginning. And do we have are we on a school site that day too?
We are at YB Tech, so they would go first, yeah.
So what we are proposing is YB Tech site visit, and then we would go into a setting where we have the equity training that we could all then check off through WASDA. and then we would go into our regular board meeting, provided that the board is in agreement, and if not, we can make other arrangements.
Comments from board members?
Sounds fine to me.
What is that, if we look at the overall timeline of that meeting then, so it's usually about an hour school presentation. Did you say eventually how long the training would be? An hour?
I would say it would be definitely no more than an hour. I will get the exact time for you by our next meeting, but it would not exceed an hour.
Okay. And then for our regular agenda for the March 28th meeting, is that already a really full agenda? Is it a lighter agenda?
It actually is fairly light at this time. We do have the school visit, the site visit down at YB Tech, and that's 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, I would certainly be fine with that. We just ask that we try to keep the other agenda items light, so we're not extending the meeting too long.
Currently, we just have 2 approvals on the meeting, but things do change in the next couple of days while we're gathering things, but I'll keep that in mind.
Sure. I see a lot of value in us doing that training together, so if we can do that, I think that would be a good thing.
Director Beckett, I don't know if I've heard from you. Is that okay?
Sounds fine to me.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad that you're amiable to doing that together. Thank you, Director Villanueva, for calling out the benefits of doing that together. WASDA does not offer this as for individual boards. I had to actually broker that with WASDA to make sure that we could have this option without knowing whether you would accept it or not. So having you being willing to participate as a group, I do think that it's much more valuable than joining a large group from the region to engage in that in a way that doesn't make sense within the context of the group. So I appreciate you being willing to engage in this together, and I will arrange that through WASDA and Aaron Jones and make sure that we keep it certainly under an hour. So thank you. And with that, I think that's my full superintendent update today, unless you have any questions.
Any other questions for Superintendent Green? I guess one from me, are we able to, I guess would like to check with Director Rice, President Rice, to see if she might be available to participate, at least virtually. Would we have an option to make a hybrid meeting so she's able to attend and at least participate in the training if she's available? And of course, we'd have to check on that.
We will be in the conference room at YB Tech, and I do know that we are able to do hybrid through their conferencing technology. So that could work.
Okay. Let's I can reach out to her to see if she's available to participate. Okay. Let's see, the next item on the agenda is approvals. We have an interlocal agreement between West Valley School District and Yakima School District, and Stacy Locke is up on that one.
Thank you, Vice President Villanueva. So I bring to you today an action item in which we're entering into an interlocal cooperative purchasing agreement with West Valley School District for food purchases. The requested action that the Board of Directors grants permission to the purchasing department to enter into a interlocal cooperative purchasing agreement with West Valley School District 208. The YSD strategic planning alignment, entering into a partnership with the West Valley Interlocal Purchasing Agreement, will align with our strategic plan to work closer with community partners for the good of the same cause, finding the highest quality food at the lowest price. The fiscal impact, there's no fiscal impact at the moment. The fiscal impact will be determined long-term. In the background information, RCW 28A 335.190 requires the board to solicit bids for items or work that exceeds $75,000. The Child Nutrition Department makes purchases for dairy product and bakery items each year far exceeding the $75,000 threshold. By joining this interlocal agreement, we have greater purchasing power and competitive pricing for our district. Entering into this agreement with West Valley School District 208, we actually piggyback onto their existing contracts, which is allowed by RCW 39.34. So this will give us an opportunity to work more efficiently and at a better price point for purchasing. And again, as you know, the manufacturing pipeline is still difficult to get product. And so by buying more together, this gives us a better opportunity to get the quality of food that we need. Any questions I can answer for the board?
Any questions from board members or comments? Okay, I will entertain that the I will entertain a motion that the Board of Directors grant permission to Purchase Department to enter into an interlocal cooperative purchasing agreement with West Valley School District.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ryan, second by Norm. Is there any discussion? Okay, Barbara, if you'll conduct your roll call vote, please.
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Mr. Walker,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
The next item on the agenda is pre-approval discussion of monitoring reports. And we have the monitoring report for policy 1000.2.4, financial planning and budgeting. And it looks like 4 board members responded, and it looks like all board members indicated that the superintendent is complying with policy. I don't see any comments. The policy and an annual review is sufficient. Are there any comments or questions on this board survey? Okay. Per our policies, for these policy reviews that are relatively straightforward, you can combine our review of the survey results with approval of the board policy. I do see a couple of comments here. Let me just read those. They're positive comments. I've continued to be pleased with the quality of financial reporting, the monthly updates, slides, and format of the financial reports continue to be easy to understand and informative. The second comment is, I appreciate the clarity and thoroughness of our financial reports and that they are presented in a manner that is easy to understand. Okay, so let's, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Directors approves the rating for policy 1000.2.4, executive limitations, financial planning, and budget.
So moved.
Second.
By Norm, second by Ryan. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, or actually let's do roll call vote.
Mr. Becker?
Aye.
Mr. Beckett, sorry. I apologize. Mr. Walker,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. The next item is pre-approval discussion of board rating reports, policy 1000.3.4, the board president's role. There is a little variation in this report. 4 board members responded. One board member indicated board is, that is cut off, I think making progress. Discussion of incidental something, I'm not seeing the full wording there, and then deliberation of comment of board policies and comments, I think. So it says down here, discussion of incidental information that is for neither monitoring performance nor board decisions will be minimized and always noted as such. So making sufficient progress there. And then the second item in the first section, deliberation will be fair, open, and thorough, but also timely, orderly, and kept to the point, making progress there. And the comment is board can improve in being more timely and to the point when deliberating. Does anyone wish to expand on that comment? The next section, section 2, all board members indicate compliance. Section 3, all board members indicate the board is in compliance. And section 4, all board members indicated compliance. Annual review is sufficient. And I'm not seeing other responses, comments. As one other response, like my previous comments, I do believe we should continue to look at ways to streamline our meetings without sacrificing needed attention to our tasks. Any other comments or questions on the survey? Okay. I will select the previous survey. If the survey is a straightforward review, we'll combine the review with the approval. So I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Directors approves the rating for policy 1020.4 board president.
So moved.
Second.
By Norm, second by Bryant.
Mr. Beckett,
Aye.
Mr. Walker,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
That brings us to the end of our meeting. Superintendent Green, do we have a need for executive session?
We do not have a need for executive session.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your attendance. Yakima Schools has had a difficult couple of weeks, and Superintendent Green, just want to express my appreciation for your leadership and communication during these difficult times on various levels. So just thank you for your open communication and continued communication during these last couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.